Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Rowe. It's time to review Nightmare Alley. This is the newest film from Guillermo del Toro, and it's got an all-star cast with Bradley Cooper in the lead, Cate Blanchett, Rooney Mara, Toni Collette, David Strathairn, Willem Dafoe, and Richard Jenkins.
Guillermo del Toro is just making some of the best-looking movies.
And he's teaming up with the same cinematographer that he did Shape of Water with. And it's kind of interesting because that was more of a fantasy film in a way, and this looks like a fantasy film, but is not a fantasy film, which gives it this otherworldly feel.
It also felt like the production design was very entangled with the cinematography. The way that the carnival was set up, all of the bulbs, it felt like I couldn't always distinguish like what was cinematography versus like just beautifully done production design.
Similarly to older noir films, it has a very expressive look, but it's using kind of a different visual language with the constantly like floating camera.
Yeah, the camera is moving in like nearly every shot. There's also a lot of visual motifs, you know, again, part of the production design, but a lot of like circles.
In Cate Blanchett's office, if you look at the patterns on the wall, they look like Rorschach test ink blots.
So simply put, there was a ton of thought, it looks like, put into the production value here. And it was also meaningfully done. If I had to nitpick, the fact that the camera is sort of moving and floating in every single shot makes it feel a little bit less impactful after a while. Whereas in another film, if they restrained the camera movement a little bit, those moments where they do dolly or push in could have felt more impactful. But this only bothered me in a couple of scenes, and that's very nitpicky for a film that looks so amazing. But sometimes I did feel like this is beautiful for beautiful sake.
Yeah, but I was just basking in the colors. Like,
sure,
this is just
nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. And also, whoever pulls the focus in these films is just doing a stunning job. Like, give them 7 figures. There's never a moment where the person you're focusing on isn't absolutely sharp in the frame, despite this camera moving around, and I don't know how they do it.
Autofocus.
Maybe they use autofocus. Who the fuck knows?
You don't really see movies like this produced very often anymore. I mean, this is like a mid-budget, all-star cast film, but really it's like a psychological drama, and it's not really playing into any genres that are currently trendy or popular. I definitely fear for like how this movie's gonna perform at the box office, because I don't really know who it's like for, except for people like us who want good Del Toro cinema.
Yeah, it's a rarity for a film like this to be made, which has an ample production budget, and yet feels like an art house movie that's being a little bit daring and not trying to please everybody.
I found our protagonist, Bradley Cooper, to be very enigmatic, and I was always trying to figure out what this character was really like on the inside. And it's interesting to watch how Bradley Cooper's performance shifts throughout the film. At first, he's just this very like kind of blank slate, and then he starts to even change his accent as he shifts into this role as this psychic.
It's actually hard, especially in the first act, to see where this film is going and what it's trying to do. It becomes a lot more clear throughout the course of the film, but this is a 2.5-hour movie, and I definitely think some people will get lost in this first half. And even I felt like I was a little bit lost as well. But I was brought back more in the second half, where I felt like the writing was a lot stronger, and there were scenes when I was very engrossed, particularly when Bradley Cooper really starts to embody this psychic, and his scenes with Cate Blanchett. Those were really captivating, and I felt like that was missing in the first half. However, because the story sort of reveals itself slowly, if I watch this back again, I might not have that problem.
While there were some moments where I felt the story progressing a little bit slower than other parts, I never felt like the movie was wasting time. I felt like the first act at the carnival really established a lot of important things that I was thinking about throughout the second and third act of the movie. And especially with Cate Blanchett, you really notice this power play between the two, almost like they're trying to dominate each other psychologically. And I just found myself continuously guessing what was going on underneath the surface of this mysterious main character. So I was kind of eating this movie up. The visuals was getting me. I've heard some people call this like a pure genre exercise, but it's like, that's so dismissive because the movie's clearly trying to go for something.
What really matters, I think, is its staying power, and I feel like it would get better on a second watch because, like you said, it does get deeper in the second half.
And especially the end. I mean, this movie has a stunner of a final shot that features an incredible moment of acting from Bradley Cooper. His performance is very understated for a lot of it, but I think there's a lot that he's toying with beneath the surface.
I did wish that we got more from Bradley Cooper. Seeing what he can do in that last shot made me wish for more, because mostly he does play like the straight man. Blanchett's scenes are really entertaining. Other supporting standouts, I thought Willem Dafoe was great in the first act. He had a couple scenes where I felt like they did utilize his power as an actor. And Richard Jenkins' performance surprised me. That character became more vulnerable than most people in this film.
I also really like David Strathairn in the first act too.
I didn't totally understand like all the time we spent with Toni Collette. And Rooney Mara is good, but I wasn't that compelled with the character.
I do think the movie could have been stronger if it fleshed out Rooney Mara's character a little more. Unlike Shape of Water and Pan's Labyrinth, this film is a little bit of a colder experience. So I did find it to be a harder movie to love than those two. I did find it to be like thoroughly engrossing though, and I am confused that there are some takes of people that are saying it's like boring. I get that maybe like the average audience member might find it that way, but I'm surprised that critics are saying this because I think we're getting a lot of treats with this movie. I think we're getting offered a lot of great stuff. And I thought the 2.5 hours kind of flew by. It felt like a 2-hour movie.
I just wish the film let me in more. I felt like The Last Shot did that. And I just wanted to get more inside of Bradley Cooper's brain because there was a lot of suggesting that something was happening there. But I didn't feel like we got on the inside of that until that last shot. And I also felt like his backstory, which is sort of supposed to explain his character, didn't really do that to a satisfying degree. The biggest compliment I'll give this film is that I would actually watch it again. Talking about Oscars here, this was a huge hopeful. We've had this on since prediction video number 1 of this year.
And last year.
Just saying, oh, this has to be a lock. It's Del Toro coming off of Shape of Water. Look at this fucking cast. We're gonna get insane production and cinematography. We're right about that.
Thought it would get like 10 nominations.
However, yeah. I am not feeling this for a Best Picture nomination because I can't see enough people loving it and connecting with it on that deep level.
I think some people are connecting with it.
Some people, but not enough.
Yeah, and the reviews are a little weirdly low. You seem to understand more where those are coming from than me. I'm a little like, how are you not liking this more? What is it, like a 70 on Metacritic, 71, and then Rotten Tomatoes lower 80s? It's not where I think where it needs to be. I think it's going to be a little bit of a dropout in Best Picture and Best Director and even maybe Screenplay.
And with the acting categories, I'm kind of surprised to come out of it and say I don't think anybody will be nominated for this movie. Bradley Cooper simply doesn't go big enough. The only other character I could see getting a nomination is maybe Cate Blanchett, but despite her working really well here, that character is also sort of cold.
I think both of them are great, and it's just another example of Bradley Cooper being a very versatile actor, in my opinion. But yeah, I just think it's one of those situations where if the ship sinks, a lot goes down with it. There's only one category I'm convinced will not go down with the ship, and it's production design, because you got a fucking fun house with moving parts and little rotating wheels and crazy stuff. Even cinematography, I honestly don't know, and I would love to see it get in. I mean, my God. But now we know that West Side Story's a lock in this category, okay? And if I have to, and I have to fit in Belfast, and I really want to try to fit in Power of the Dog here, so I'm shoving Nightmare Alley. I'm taking that out.
I do feel like the fact that the movie isn't a picture contender means that it might not get as much text as it might deserve.
I thought the score stood out a lot in certain moments, but I'm not sure if it stood out often enough that I'm convinced that it would like get in for best score.
Especially the first piece of music that you hear in the film, I thought it was amazing. And I was left disappointed because I did not hear that piece come up very much again. It's kind of like how I feel about the score for Us. Like there's some really amazing tracks that I love in that, but the middle of it is fine.
So yeah, honestly, I can see it slipping in like so many categories. I might only be predicting it for production design right now. And some people might think that's a very dramatic move, but I don't know. I just wait and see, I guess.
We have movies like this every single year that seem like they're poised for, 10 nominations and just doesn't happen.
As for my rating on the film, I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10 on this one. And I could see it even getting better on a second viewing, perhaps.
Because I think it'd be a good rewatch, I'll go up on it and go to 8. Which is weird, because you're definitely like a whole grade above me, based on how much more you like it.
I'm not quite a 9, though, you know.
But we're just like the opposite ends of 8. Because it was good to chew on, but I didn't like love watching the movie as much as maybe you did.
It was very sparkly and nice.
Well, that's true. Del Toro needs to do a crazy Christmas movie. And there needs to be the same amount of gore in it that he usually does. And he needs like weird prosthetic things. And it should just be called like Del Toro's Christmas Fantastical Delight.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Which alley is in your nightmares?